And what?
Can I just ask a question, Colonel? Why did you believe that you were taking a personal risk simply by providing information about whether or not vehicles belong to EMPD?
You know, Commissioners, in the back of the scene, things are happening as we move forward. And you could just see the nature in which how things are now shifted in saying that, no, the office of the city manager will start handling inquiries moving forth. And furthermore, in saying that, you know, now his iPad that has came to the party, I'm sure iPad, Mr. Mkhulu, wasn't the first to be informed or having investigated matters pertaining EMPD. So there was a lot at play in this instant.
Can I just follow up on that? You say in the statement, before I agreed, I stressed to him that the individuals involved in this case are highly connected and powerful. What were you speaking to there? You speak of individuals in the plural. So that's the first question. Who are these individuals that you were speaking to? And then when you say they're highly connected and powerful, what are you speaking to then?
Commissioners, when the initial inquiry came to me and it had made reference to Mr. Vusimusi Ket Matlala, I didn't know the gentleman from a bar of soap. I only got to learn of him as things transpired within the city and South Africa in its entirety. But above all, the fact that communication would be restricted in one office, then that just gave me the shivers in saying that what exactly is at play here, and am I even competent to be attending to same? So that just really created an element of discomfort that I needed him to assure me as to he will then take this process and he will investigate and he will do what is expected. Because, you know, in my opinion, there are certain IPID members that we know who are just captured by a certain system, and it's not a place for me to indulge in that, but it's just things that we know by virtue of being law enforcers.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mkhwanazi.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel Thepa, after you've then shared your concerns with Mr. Mkhulu, what is his response to you? We're in paragraph 39.
This is responded to on paragraph 39. He had assured me in saying that, you know, rest assured that I'm going to work tirelessly, endlessly, with dedication towards this matter because, you know, I'm not even attached to the Gauteng province's iPad or even a Kurleni's iPad, that, you know, a task team has been established or set up for the purpose of this investigation, comprising of people coming from different provinces. So the other two members which he had came with, they were not even from the province which he came from. So it gave a bit of relief to me in saying that, okay, meaning that there is an element of being serious with this matter. So let me just give it my all.
And in that discussion with Mr. Mkhulu, did he ever explain to you why IPID decided to use a team made up of individuals from outside of Gauteng province?
Yes. They wanted to minimize the risk of threats and, of course, undue influences, and that, you know, proper team is established for the purpose of investigating this, that will not be infiltrated by powers that be.
And please have regard to the contents of paragraph 40 and inform the Commission what else Mr. Mkhulu shared with you during that meeting.
So this was on the day he had taken the liberty to come to my house, and we had a discussion after losing a phone, and he informed me that Brigadier Mkwanazi had told him that I was a dirty cop and that I had a defeating the ends of justice case registered against my name. And, you know, I could see how this was about to unfold going forward.
What is your understanding of the meaning of a dirty cop?
You know, if you're being investigated for issues that are related to blue lights and what his action was contributing to that, how is it defeating the ends of justice case related to his investigation? But nonetheless, I'm more than willing to share what the content of that is, of the defeating the ends of justice, if you so permit. So whilst we had an incident where one of our officers in the EMPD was shot in an attempted hijacking. So I got to the scene, being one of the first higher ranking officers that arrived at the scene. Upon arrival, I'm issued with this firearm, which has been taken out of a vehicle by one of the colleagues, and said to me that I had kept this safe to give to our armory. But since you are here, ma'am, as a ranking officer, please do ensure that it gets to our armory section. And I did precisely that. I called our armory section to come to the scene of the incident. But before they had arrived, an officer from Norcom Park SAPS, they arrived at the scene where EMPD already had cordoned off the scene. We've used cones to close off what would be remaining cartridges on the scene. But at no given point was the firearm placed anywhere on the scene. It was taken from a vehicle and handed over to me in my capacity as a senior official within the EMPD. And of course, with the intention that from the scene itself, it would be given to our armory section. When this officer, Barbara Ferreira, I think she's a communications officer under the South African Police Services for Norcom Park, she came there and had misconstrued that the firearm was removed from the scene by myself. And of course, I only obtained it from the officer, and furthermore, the officer had explained that no, it wasn't part of the activities of that scene, and that he only kept it with him for safekeeping, and that it was given to me to then give to the armory. And I don't know what the merit of the case is. I don't even know how far it is. It's a 2023 matter, though.
Who would have laid the criminal charge against
It was opened by the very same communications officer. And I think what was misunderstanding there was I am a communications person within the EMPD. I'm here in my capacity as the spokesperson to report on the occurrence of what had transpired. But when she comes as from the South African Police Services and having to want to make communication and just politely declining that, then it just became something of ego-testing fights that was very unnecessary. Thank you, Commissioners.
Colonel Thepa, please then just update the Commission on what the status of that criminal complaint is, as you know it.
It's unknown to me. The last we had met up with the investigating officer, Van Veek, also aligned to the Norcom Park detective section. We had taken warning statements. What is the outcome thereof? It's unknown to me, Commissioners.
And in paragraph 41 of your witness statement, paragraph 41 on page 11, you set out some comments or reflections there in light of what Mr. Xulu disclosed to you. Please share those.
Yeah, you know, it became quite clear that Brigadier Mkhwanazi carried ill wills and, you know, will do anything to discredit anybody who then comes forward and has to reduce to writing or even give statement as to the occurrence of what happened with the Blue Light saga. And furthermore, I think what disturbed Brigadier Mkhwanazi then, it is the fact that how I chose to handle this media inquiry, you know, having to had sent it to the acting chief as opposed to maybe just making him aware of what the developments were within the department.
And if you turn over the page, you go to page 12 of your witness statement. In those last two paragraphs of this theme, please detail to the Commission any further developments after that meeting with Mr. Xulu.
No, I didn't get any feedback from Mr. Kulu, but it would be a continuous checking in on how far are we, is there anything. So there was a point I remember where Mr. Kulu was promising imminent arrests, to say that, we almost on the verge of completion and there would be arrest effected, and as such, just hang 10. But it then became clear that there were 3 individuals whose assistance was critical in this investigation. That would be myself, for the role which I had played by virtue of receiving this media inquiry and forwarding it to Commissioner Spies without notifying or involving the Deputy Chief of Police Operations and Specialized Services and or the Brigadier himself, who is the man in question. And again, Commissioner Spies, who had then taken the stance in referring this into an investigation through our internal affairs, and furthermore, Ivan du Plessis, who was then responsible for critical documentation in the Office of the Chief of Police as being the staff officer, and furthermore, the role that he had played in facilitating the information sharing sessions with the IPID.
Thank you, Colonel Thepa. You are now at paragraph 44 in your witness statement. Can I ask you to share the details of that paragraph with the Commission?
It was only later then that I had discovered that this is going to have some effect on me and that I was going to get some blowbacks for the role which I had played. So in essence, in responding to this media inquiry and assisting IPID, powerful individuals were not pleased with the transparent response of the EMPD media unit, and it became clear that I offended some people by responding to the media inquiry in the manner that I did.
Can I then ask you to have regard to paragraph 45 of your statement?
Yes.
Under the new subheading there. Can I invite you to share with the Commission what you experienced in July of 2023?
So in July 2023, it was the day of my first attack. It was a Saturday morning, I remember. I woke up to go to the cemetery where my late mother was. And I also had a relative who had recently bought a car, so I had taken that vehicle and made a turn at the Bredel Cemetery. And coming back, I was well within where I live, the street that I live in Tembisa. I was sitting with a neighbor who was on the passenger seat, and 3 men came up to the vehicle that I was in. They came there. The one that came around to the driver's seat cocked a firearm and pointed it to me. I had the windows down. And he then demanded that I switch off the vehicle. So he put his hand in to try and reach for the keys on the ignition, but it's not the kind that you start manually with the key, it's those press buttons. And there was a lot of things that was being said. Behind me, as I was on the driver's seat, another came in and there was this sharp metal object against my neck. Initially, I thought, yes, a knife that's going to slit my throat, only to discover that that is a firearm. And that, I think what hurt me the most with everything that was said at that point, it was then, it is things that are work related. And the fact that, they want a phone from me and the information which they want, and the fact that they would be, sorry, commissioners. I was hit on the head with a firearm. The accosters shoved me to the side of the passenger seat. They got into the car and they drove off. They drove past my house, and I could see my neighbor who's literally looking inside the vehicle to identify who the drivers are.
Ms. Thepa, should we take a short adjournment for you to compose yourself, perhaps?
Please, Commissioner.
Let us adjourn. You will please indicate to us, Ms. Mkhwanazi.